Hi again, this is Tupo from Mzumbe University, and remember that I'm teaching a data warehouse course in data mining, and I participated in the transformative learning and course redesign workshop that was conducted in Morogoro in 2019. So we have been together in day 1 and day 2, where in day 1 it was all about concept map, and in day 2 it was about learning outcome. Now today we are going to see how we learned about assessment during the workshop. And as I said earlier, for me, my big dream was the driving factor to all the decisions that I made throughout the workshop. Now, because I was on day 3, I was somehow transformed. Like the transformation had already started to take place. So I thought of, now I have the big picture and I have the concepts, and I already have some skills that I wanted my student to acquire. And at the same time, I had the learning outcomes. So I wanted to also find a better way of assessing my students based on what we were taught actually on day 3, which was all about assessment. And then it prompted me that I also find a better way to assess my students, so as to ensure when they go for the interview, when they are asked what real world skills do you have, they will not end up telling their future bosses that I can test. Now from there, I had to think again from the learning outcome to be able to derive or to come up with the mode of assessments. For example, in the first learning outcome, which was determine the requirements of data warehouse in an organization, I thought of how best can I assess my students to ensure that they have acquired the skills that I wanted them to acquire from these learning outcomes. And we were taught on day 3, we were exposed to different assessment methods. And from there, I thought that using formative assessment as well as summative assessment would be good, and whereby for this particular learning outcome, for me it was important. I planned that it would be good to use questions for self-assessment. For example, the use of video, whereby I thought that I would give a video to my students, and then thereafter they will go outside the class and they will watch the video, and then later come up with some list of requirements or from what they have watched from the video. But then I planned to use peer assessment, peer assessment method, whereby here I thought of providing my students journal articles, and then I thought of maybe imagine they could work in group works and then come back to class and present whatever that they have acquired or they have learned from the journals that I provided them, but then use peer assessment as part of the evaluation. If you're looking into the, let's say, this learning outcome here, conceptualize the workflow for data integration. Here, I thought of, actually after, by the end of this day 3, I thought that it will be good for this learning outcome to assess my students based on group presentation as well as peer review. But then I plan to give them real world scenarios, whereby I plan to pick some cases and then share with them, and then thereafter ask them to come back into class in the next days and then try to present to present the findings from those real world scenarios. And I also plan to give them the questions that I wanted them to present and use the peer review. But then also there is this summative assessment that I thought for this particular learning outcome, where examinations and tests are part of it. But then I also wanted my students to come up with a poster that will actually conceptualize. I thought maybe this will also tell me to what extent have they understood, what have they learned from all the themes and the concept that they have covered so far. So for me, I thought that the ability to conceptualize this working flow of data integration would really assess the knowledge that they have acquired so far. So this is how I came up with the mode of assessment. we just give the last example here that, for example, in this learning outcome, protect data repository in an ethical and professional manner. For this one, again, it was formative and summative assessment. And for the formative, I thought I planned to give my students video where they will watch, and then later they will do self-assessment through discussions in class. And also, I thought of probably using the e-learning platform, the Moodle, where online we could post a video, and then I could post a video, and then my students and myself could share and answer some of the questions that would be raised. But then the peer assessment was also considered here, whereby I planned to use journal articles, as well as now later they will come back and then do the group presentations, and then being assessed on what they have formed or of what they have learned so far. Now coming into summative assessment, definitely here I thought I will continue using the test, the examination, but then also planned to tell my students to provide reports and documentation, because I thought maybe this will be a good way of knowing whether my students have actually learned in the process or they have not, and even be able to identify where are their weaknesses, so that I can also try to help them to ensure that they achieve, they reach to that big dream that I wanted them to reach. So this was day 3 of the workshop, and it was mainly about crafting the assessment. And as I said, it was all about the way we crafted the assessment. It was all about looking into first what is the concept, and then the learning outcome. Now from the learning outcome, what skills do we want our learners to acquire? And then now from the skills and the learning outcomes, now how are we going to assess that these students acquire the skills that they are supposed to acquire through that learning outcome? Now, yes, after this, we move to the day 4, tomorrow, which is actually about teaching strategies, because now we already have the assessment, and we already have the skills that we want our students to acquire, as well as the learning outcome. But how are we going to ensure that these students have all this? So see you tomorrow on the teaching strategies.